everyone. I wanted to read this acceptance passage. Now, this passage is usually used in NA or AA. It's one of the passages that's read during the graduation, or sometimes it's read like during the check-in of an NA or AA meeting. And I remember the very first time I heard this passage, I was just so attached to it. And I actually was able to find a printout of it online. And I did make a few changes to it because I have never used or I've never drank, but the passage itself really meant a lot to me. And so I started using it in my personal life, and it gave me a little breakdown to what I found. And so this is something that I have cut out and framed, and I read it almost every day, just as a constant reminder and a constant encouragement to me in my walk with God, and my walk in my daily living, and the things that are important. So I wanted to go ahead and read this to you. It says that acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me, and I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing, happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitude. I found this at a very critical time in my life where I was having to learn what it really means to accept something for what it is, because if it is what it is what God ordained it to be. And I think that sometimes that concept is a really hard concept to accept, because in our minds we think of a thing as the way it's supposed to be. We see it as something that we desire, as something that we want, as something that fit our way of thinking, when our way of thinking may actually be out of alignment with God and His plan for our lives. So we find ourselves in this like mental, emotional wrestling match, sometimes even physical, for us to align ourselves with God's will, simply because there are times in our life that we don't know how to accept the things that is unknown to us, the things that we cannot see, especially if we're having to deny ourselves of something that we want, put our faith in something we can't see, and believe it to happen. I mentioned in the video before, when it comes to faith, is that it is during those periods of time where we're expecting God to show up in a way that we never seen Him before, but because we know who He is, we can put our trust that He will. But it's in between the time period that He actually does that our faith sometimes is misplaced. We don't know where to put our trust because we're trying to extend or elevate our mind past what we can visibly see right now, to the point where we can attain what is unseen to us. This passage, it really meant a lot to me, because at that time when I first seen this, it seemed like all of my problems was literally just like right there. And it was like, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. If I can accept that things are exactly the way that God intended it to be, I have to stop putting my trust in what I thought it could be and put my trust in what God is calling it to be. During that time period, if I'm accepting God's will, if I'm accepting that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment, then that takes a little pressure off of me to set my sights on that which I thought was real to me, or what I thought was true, or what I thought was mine, or what I thought was going to be granted to me. I'm able to now lay that perception aside, and I'm able to look forward to the things that's actually going to align with me according to God's will. That's the thing. When we think about God's will, there's a lot of things sometimes I think we do, knowingly and unknowingly, that is against God's will, simply because we're not seeking first the kingdom of God. So all of those other things can be added to us. It says when we seek first the kingdom of God, when we're seeking God and His will and all that He has, naturally, because we're seeking and because He's giving, everything else that we need will be added unto us. There's a lot of things that we want that we say that we need, and there's a lot of things that we need that we say that we want. In God's alignment, He is going to show us the things that we need first and foremost. But here is the great thing about it. Not only is He going to grant us the things that we need, He's going to grant us the desire for the things that we want to be added unto us. And that right there is amazing. During the times where we get so stuck on what our perception is, what our desires was, what our will is, and we're not able to trade that for God's, we find ourselves in this battle, constantly fighting against ourselves, constantly fighting against God, and from that we have no serenity. We have no peace. This breakdown, it says, until I could accept life completely on life terms, I cannot be happy. There are sometimes I'm going to go to God, I'm going to ask Him of something, I'm going to request something of Him, and His answer is simply going to be, no, my child. And until I can accept life completely on life terms, I will not be happy, because I will constantly be trying to fight against what God is telling me is His will for me. And because we do serve such an awesome God who is all-knowing and all-seeing, we want to get in the habit of being able to trust His will more, because it's already going to deem us the best outcome that we can have. But it says to be assured that acceptance does not mean resigning yourself to the idea that you can do nothing about anything. Accepting reality makes you strong and stable, not weak and passive. As noted in the serenity prayer, the serenity to accept the things I cannot change goes hand in hand with the courage to change the things that I can and the wisdom to know the difference. When someone is upset, it can usually be traced to something outside of that person that they cannot control. Their response to that situation is a testament of their spiritual fitness. If they exert their will against it, there is conflict. If they accept it and adapt/respond in a solution-oriented way, there is peace. Acceptance go hand in hand with belief in a higher power. Trusting the greater order of things when things don't go your way can bring you peace. A vital part of acceptance is acknowledging that 1, it is not your right to claim final authority over circumstances. And 2, you can trust the one who does have that authority and has your best interest at heart, even if that interest isn't clear at the moment. Resentment, selfishness, self-pity, these offenders can be traced back to wanting something to not be what it is. It says that, y'all, your response to that situation is a testament of your spiritual fitness. It's like your ability to accept God, your ability to accept God's will, and your ability to deny yourself is a testament of how spiritually fit you are. Y'all, when I read that part, I was like, oh, I don't want to be weak. I don't want to be a weak Christian. I don't want to be a weak child of God. I want God to see me as one that He can easily say, hey, I know she's available. I know she's willing. Let me draw her. I don't want God to have to be considering, am I going to follow His will, or am I going to be willing to deny my will for His, willing to step up when He needs me. I don't want to be weak. I don't want to be weak. So I was like, spiritual fitness. Like, God, I want to make sure I'm spiritually fit. I want to make sure that I'm strong for you, for me, but also in the face of adversity. Because I think a lot of times, some of the adversity that we're facing is the battle of our will against God's will. We're constantly stubborn and constantly want the things that we can visibly see through flesh. And it's just like, God's like, no, if you just wait, my child, I want to give you exactly what you desire. You just have to accept that what you wanted, it's not as good as what I wanted. And that's not a downplay. It's just like, God knows us better than we know ourselves. So why not trust Him? Another thing that really stood out to me is acknowledging that it is not your right to claim final authority over circumstances, because God is the head of our lives. If we are the head of our lives, go ahead and live your life the way you want to live it. You're not going to get the best outcome. You're not going to get the best results. You're not going to get the greatest blessing. But if you want to try it, go ahead. But if we don't have the right to claim final authority over our circumstances, that means that we're fighting battles that we're not going to win. And that right there is not a life that I want to live. So I want to go ahead and step into radical acceptance and accept that acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. I really do hope that this word was an encouragement to you. Like I said, this right here has gotten me through just being able to go through the process of shedding and, letting some things go according to my will and adopting now the will of God. And with this word of encouragement, I pray that you have a blessed rest of your day.